Okay, welcome to meeting 3. How many of you don't have Expo installed? We're all good.
You can probably ask like how many people were at the last meeting.
How many were at the last meeting?
Wow.
Nice. Okay. Scott, you were there?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Nice. Okay, let's just say everyone's names again.
Okay.
I'm Sita.
Christina. Anna.
Adam.
Jason.
Marco.
Scott.
Ryan.
Jay.
Alright, nice. Great team building, guys. So, we're going to be going over how to do like interactive things. Last meeting, if you weren't there, we just went over how to make like shapes and colors. So today we're going to be doing like buttons and like text inputs and stuff. So it's going to be really fun. Yeah. So since Valentine's Day is tomorrow,
Yeah.
apparently, that's going to be the theme of our app today.
Wait a second.
So Spotify was nice enough to remind me too.
Wow.
And you can guess which one I selected.
Sad.
You can guess by the song I'm listening to probably.
Suffer.
Scott, you're making me suffer.
Aw.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not Scott. He's
Scott. Yep. Alright. So let's make our app. Let's start suffering.
Oh boy.
So it's going to be a dating app following the theme of suffering. So cd into your favorite directory. And then do expo init. Or create React Native app, whichever one you installed. So you can probably do expo init. And then just give it a project name. I'm going to do meeting 3. Blank. And it's ready to go. Then we can go to our text editor and just open it up. Everyone got here?
If you need help, just I haven't typed in the name, but it says the project name can't be empty.
Scott to the rescue.
Rebecca, that's when you get over there. Stop over this.
Do you have Expo installed?
Yeah, it's just Expo.
Okay.
So which file are you editing app.js or app.json?
It's going to be app.js. Yeah, so app.json is just like some like configuration for the app. Is that a TSM sticker? You play League?
No, I don't really play. I just watch it.
Okay. What? Alright, Andy. You're the one that didn't want to make the announcement. But okay. Okay, while Scott's doing that, let's go to app.js,
Oh, okay.
and then we see all our code. We can go back to our terminal, and so cd into the directory of where your app is. So I'm already there. Then we can do expo start. And then this should come up. Right, everyone got this? Who doesn't have the screen? Did you get it, Scott? Nice. So cd into the directory of your app and do expo start. And you should get this QR code. And then if you want to try the app on your phone, you can go back to the browser window that opened up and click on tunnel over here. Then scan the QR code with your phone. And then the app should open up on your phone. Okay, so then once the app is open on your phone, you can shake the phone if you prefer that, or you can like 2-finger press on the screen and you'll see a menu that comes up once this loads. Okay, so again, you can shake or 2-finger press, and you see this menu. You should try doing disable live reload, and then press the menu again, open it up, and do enable hot reloading. If that doesn't work, it's fine. The app's just going to refresh every time you change something. But with hot reloading, if you change something here, for example, and you save, it changes in the app. So that's how we change that. All right. So I know we went kind of fast last meeting, maybe a little bit. So I'm trying to go slow this time. So let's see. What is this? When we import React, we have to do that whenever we're making React components. What are those? Those are kind of like whatever you display on the screen. So this component right now is our whole screen. And then whatever is shown on the screen is whatever is inside this render function and whatever that returns. So we're returning a view, which is kind of like a div, if you know what that is, like a container. And then inside the view, we have some text, right? And then we have this thing called styles down here. It's just a variable called styles from stylesheet.create, which is something we get from React Native up here. And then we give a styling to the type of container of these properties. So let's say we change the background color to red, save, the whole thing changes. That makes sense? All right. So let's undo that. And let's import a text input. So again, go up here onto the second line where it says like style sheet text view and just put text input. So these are all elements that React Native gives us so that we can use them. So we have text input. Let's put it inside the view. So we do text input, and then just do slash, and then closing this bracket. So this is a self-closing tag. If you notice here, view, it has two tags associated with it, an opening tag and a closing tag. So everything inside the two tags of this view is going to be inside the view. But this text input is a opening bracket, then a slash and a closing. So that means it doesn't need a second tag to close it. All right. So if we save, we see this kind of move down a little bit, and our text input is there and we can type in it. But let's give it a placeholder. So we can go inside the tag of this text input. So like in between here, just give a few spaces. And then we can put in placeholder equals enter your name. Now if we save that, let's just delete all this text. We'll see enter your name. And then when we type something, it goes away. So this text is kind of small, so let's make it bigger. We can give it some styles. So if you look on line 7, we see the view has this thing called style equals, then opening brace and then closing brace, styles.container. Where does styles.container come from? This? Yeah, that's where it comes from. So then we can do the same thing for the text input. So let's make a style for that. Let's call it name input. So this is an object assigned to the key name input. So let's give it a font size of 20. So just put a comma after the container and then name input equals or colon object font size 20. Then we can go into the text input. Again, inside the opening closing tag, we can do style equals opening brace closing brace styles dot name input. So if we save, we see the text gets bigger. So what these yellow things are called are props. Props, you can kind of think of them as parameters you pass into your components. So every one of these like opening tags and closing tags, they're components, and we can pass props in to our components to like customize them. So let's delete this text down here, the open your app thing. To save that, it should reload. So in this app that we're going to make, we're going to have a series of questions that we ask the user, and based on those questions, we match them with a romantic partner. So let's create a questions array above our app. So just do const questions equals opening and closing square bracket, and that's just how you make arrays. So right now this is an empty array called questions. Now let's put an object inside this this array. So opening curly brace, let's press enter. So this means that the first index of questions is an empty object. So then we can have a property for this object. Let's call it question. And let's type in a question. So we can do, what is your favorite food? And then let's also give a property of answers. So we can do answers equals an array. Because instead of answers, let's do like options. So options is going to have all the options that are associated with the question. Let's put, for the first one, let's do like potatoes. Okay, someone give me some foods. I'm not that creative. Pizza. Okay. Asian.
Chinese food. Rice.
Asian.
No.
Let's put Chinese separately. Okay, anything else?
Japanese.
Japanese? Okay.
Bananas.
Bananas. Is this how you spell bananas? Okay. Alright, anything else? Are we good? Alright. So now that we have our questions, we can display our questions. So we can go into our view here. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the map function that JavaScript has for arrays. So we're going to have opening and closing curly braces inside our view. So under the text input. And let's do questions. Let's just go into the first question. So questions at index 0, so that's going to be this object. So then we just want to display options for now. So let's do options. And then let's do .map. And put this. So this is going to the first question, so this object. Then we're going to the options of this question, so that means this array. And then we're mapping these options to something else. So what map does is that it takes some array as an input, and it transforms those values into something else based on every single one of those inputs. So we're going to transform each of these options into text. So then in this map, we can do O, which is going to be our options, so like potatoes, pizza. And we can put arrow like that, and just have opening and closing parentheses. So what this is just a function. It takes in O as a parameter, and it returns whatever is in here. So this is just a fancy way of doing a normal function. And then let's have a text inside the opening and closing parentheses. And then in between the opening and closing tag for the text, let's put curly braces. And let's put O. And let's reload, and we'll see all our options come up. And the reason we put curly braces here is that if we just put O, we reload, we see it's just going to be the letter O. So if you want to do like any variables or something in a React render between tags, you have to use braces. That's why we did that here. Because this technically, this is just an array, whatever is inside here. All right, and we get this unique key thing. What we can do is just put key equals opening and closing curly braces and just put O inside there. And we'll just do dismissal and reload, and there it goes away. So the key is something that React uses to uniquely identify certain tags, so it knows when those should be updated. That's why the keys should be unique, and every time you repeatedly do something like map, when you're creating new items based on some array, you need a key. Okay, so now that we have our questions, let's also, our options, let's also display the question. So let's do another opening and closing curly brace above the questions map thing. Let's do questions, index 0, we'll just do question, save, and we see that all text has to be inside the text component. So make a text component and put that inside the text component. There we go. So you can't just put like text inside a view. It has to be inside text. It's not like HTML. Is everyone at this point? Is there anything that doesn't make sense? Everything makes sense? Okay. Okay, that's good. I don't believe you guys, but that's good. So let's move this rendering of the questions out into a separate function because we're going to have a lot of stuff going on in this render method and we don't want it to get too fat. So let's do render question inside our app class. So like directly under this line, let's just do render question equals and just opening and closing parentheses and then arrow and curly braces. So this is just a function called render question. It takes in nothing as a parameter and it does whatever is inside here. So then if we want to render our question inside here, we can just move all the stuff. So just remove the question text and all the options and put it inside here in a return. And you can try doing this just pasting it, but that's not going to work. So we have to wrap this inside a view, inside the return, and then paste it. Am I going too fast? No. Okay, that's good. Everyone at this point? Zach, is everyone at this point? Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just working on this app like 2 hours ago. Like, Anna, when you saw me, that's when I was working on the app. So it's kind of rough. Okay, so now that we have this render question function, we can probably just use it inside the view, right? So let's do, again, the opening and curly braces underneath the text input. And let's do this dot render question, and then opening and closing braces. So the reason we have to do this dot is because render question is a function of the class app. So we have to do this dot render question to access the function. And then we just do opening and closing parentheses here to execute the function. And when it executes, it returns this. So you can kind of just think of this function as just being this view in a different place. So if we save this, we see that we get an error if you had hot reloading enabled. And that's because hot reloading works, but only with things inside this render function. So if you change anything outside the render function, so for example, we changed the class because we added this function, React's not going to pick that up because it's not going to know we added this question. So every time you change something inside the class, you have to do a full refresh of your app. So down here, you can just do reload.js, or you can shake your phone and do like reload at the top of the screen. So now we see that our options in question are showing up again. All right. So let's give this some styling. So inside our styles, let's make a new style called option. And then let's give it a background color of pink. And then let's go to our text here in our render question function. Let's give it a style. And the style is going to be styles.option. So again, if we refresh this, the background color isn't going to change because the text is inside render question and because we changed render question, which is outside the render function. of the class, it's not going to reload. So we have to refresh our app all over again. But we see that it does change to pink. Okay. So let me just check what I had for this. All right. So I'm just going to copy these styles because it's kind of annoying to redo them. So let's remove the option style. And you guys can just copy this stuff down if you want. Let me just open this up over here. All right, so they're over here. You can copy all of this. So once that's done, you can go into your render question, and under the text, make a new tag for the view, opening tag and then closing tag, and then move this like question style map thing inside that view. And then let's go inside the view we just made, and let's give it a style. So let's do style equals styles dot option button. So that's the style we just made over here. And let's go into the text, and let's change that style to option text. So the reason we have two styles here for the button is that this is what contains the text, and this is the text itself. So that's how we have two different styles. So once that's done, you can just save and reload the app. You'll see that it looks like that, which isn't right. So, uh-oh. Put the view, oh, good eye, Zach, good eye. So you have to put the view in the map because the view is associated with each text. All right. Okay, now we reload, and Zach is a genius, and it worked. Everyone got this far? Zach, help. Zach and Scott.
What's this?
you pull up the,
The styles.
You haven't applied the styles.
There's, I've had a bug like coming out of
What is it? Okay, so look at some.
Yeah, it kept every time I tried to type in it, it kept going up the screen.
See, I think it's because using tunnel not really local Wi-Fi. It's just like
What's happening back there, Zach?
Is that what's going on?
Where did you put the styles for the options?
Just in here. So in the styles object, if you scroll down.
No. Oh, wait.
She wants to know. She wants to know like
Oh.
where you attach the option text. So it's inside
I'm
that.
sorry, I can't see. That didn't help.
We sit down. I'll just always talk.
There's, couldn't connect to the screen.
So 0 is going to be 100% of the time by the map. No, you don't. I think you. Why are you? Wait, did you hear the problem? That's the operations you can do.
No, I don't. But the thing is that you give it an odd number.
Yeah.
It always says you always. My stuff looks like this would be
So yeah, the problem is once you have the app, instead of you did go down on one, there's 3 ones you have to ask.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is one. No, I agree.
The edge case is like.
If it's just a key error, you can ignore that for now. Got it? Getting stuff.
What? Wait, go and look at this. This is a weird error. It's not really helpful.
That's close enough.
So it might be a slightly different number.
Oh, you missed one.
No, this is the second edge case.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I was gonna go over that one, but you're just like, whatever, follow. But see, this is the second edge case is all nine for the coverage.
You're going on the server. So it's the best. That's like a
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Do you have X-ray?
Yeah, it's over. Well, let me see something. Sorry.
Because then you can just use that same way.
Why is it like blind practice?
No, because
What are you trying to do? I can do it.
I was trying to do like the whole app thing.
Can I just see the launch pad?
Yeah, the launch pad. You know how that gets streamed.
Okay.
Yeah, no, wait, there's X over there. But yeah,
There you go.
it's there. I don't know if it's this time.
Okay, so usually what I do, I do it in the binary string, guess what it's like conceptual. Most of the time. Most of the time.
All right. Now we have all our options showing up. we can't click on them because they're just views, and views aren't interactable. So let's import touchable opacity from React Native on line 2. And then just replace our view in the map with that. So replace the view in the map with touchable opacity.
Once that like obviously you catch up, right? So you're like, right, in this case, no, they'll give you a hint. Like they won't let you select ways that's not like
So if we save that, then we reload, we can see that we can click on these options and they kind of fade in and out. So then let's add something so we can see which one we pressed. So touchable opacity has a prop called onPress. So it's just like a style. We can do onPress equals opening and closing brackets. And so what goes inside here is a function that runs whenever the element is pressed. So then let's just create a function outside here called handle option press. And this function is going to take in the index of the button we pressed because we want to know which option we pressed. So we're going to use the index of the answer for that. So it gets a parameter of index and then does something with that. And for now, we'll just do alert index. And then inside the touchable opacities on press, let's just do this dot handle option press. You getting it? And then we also have to do inside our map. Let's put opening and closing parentheses around this O. And let's do comma I. So I is going to be the index of whatever element we're in the options array. So for example, we're on potatoes. I is going to be 0 because that's index 0 in the array. Pizza has I equal to 1 because that's index 1 in the array, and so on. So O is the actual text of the option, for example, potatoes, and I is the index of the option, so like 0 for potatoes. So why do we need that? Well, for the handle option press function, we need to pass in an index, right? And we get that index from this I. So what we can do here is that we can do parentheses, arrow, before this handle on press, or this handle option press. And then inside parentheses, beside the option press, let's just put in I. So what this is a function that executes this function with a parameter of I. Does everything make sense? Alright, so if we save this and reload, and now let's just click on an option, and then we get the index showing up. Right, so what happens is that the index is passed into this handle option press function, and this handle option press function pulls up an alert showing the index. An alert is just a built-in function into React. So we click on something else, like Japanese, it's index 4, bananas, index 5. Okay. So now we can check which option we press on. But now let's get the enter your name working. So the way, since we're kind of short on time, we'll just do this. So let's have a constructor at the very top, and it takes some props, and we can do super props. Does everyone know what super does? So it's like a super class of app, which is React.component. So whenever app is initialized, it runs the initializer of React.component. That's what it does. So inside constructor, we can do this dot state equals an object. So state is a really important concept in React. The only way something re-renders in React, so the only way something changes in the views is when the state changes. So if the state doesn't change, this screen is never going to change. But if you want the state to change, if you want the screen to change, something in the state has to change. And that makes sense because you don't want to re-render all these components when nothing's changing. So the state is like something important in your app that you want to respond to a change on the screen. So the state we're going to have here is just name. And let's just set it to null for now. So this means when the app first loads, there's going to be no name set. So what we want to happen is that whenever you type in a name, the state updates with that new name. And we only want to show the questions when there's a valid name entered, so when it's not null. So what we can do is go into your text input inside the main render function. And text input has a prop called onChangeText. And that is a function that runs whenever the text inside the text input is changed. So you can do onChangeText equals opening and closing braces. And this, again, it takes in a function. So like above the render function, let's just make one called handle name change. And the text inputs on change prop gives us a parameter of text whenever something changes. So handle name change, the function we're going to pass into this prop also has to take in that prop, or that parameter, called text. So this is a function that takes in a parameter called test and does something. And we're going to put this function to the text inputs prop. So this dot handle name change. And whenever the name changes, we're going to want to update the state of the component. So the way we do that is that we do this dot set state, and then we're going to put the key of the value we want to change. So the key we want to change is name. So we want to change the name. The new value we want to give the name is the text you entered, right? So this sets the name to the new text. So if we refresh this app, save it, and then run, we're going to get an error because I think I spelled constructor wrong. Constructor. There we go. So if we run this and we press a button, we type in a name, nothing's going to change on the screen. But the state is changing, but nothing on the screen is changing as a response to that text. So now that we know our name is changing, we only want to show the questions when the text is not null. So we can do inside our main render function, do const, and then opening and closing braces, and type in name equals this dot state. Does anyone know what this line does? This line? The one I highlighted? No, this line updates the state. So what this line does is, this is the same. Okay, what is it?
So yeah, so it's destructuring rate. So it is like this dot state. So like we don't have to call this dot state at any time.
Yeah, yeah. So this this thing right here is the same as const name equals this dot state dot name. So these two are the same thing. All right. Can you see what that does now? All right. So now we have the name from the state, and what we want to do is only render the questions when the name is not null. So inside this braces with this render question, we can do name equals or exclamation mark equals equals null end. So when name is not null, this happens. That's what this means. So let's save this and reload. And we see when we first load the app, the questions don't show up because our name is set to null. But when we change our name, the questions show up because the name just changed and it's not null anymore. All right. Okay. So let's do this. Now we have our name. Let's do something in response to clicking an option. So let's have a score for the state. So inside this .state in the constructor, let's have a score. And let's set it to 0 initially. So the score is just going to be the average of all your answers to the questions. So let's say, for example, you pick potatoes. That's at index 0. So the score is going to be 0. But if you pick like pizza, for example, the score is going to be 1 because that's at index 1. And we're going to use the score to match you to someone at the end of all the questions. So whatever score that you have is closest to someone else's score is who you're going to get matched up with. Okay. So now let's make something in here in our handle option press function. So whenever the option is pressed, we can update the score. So we can do this dot set state score index. So whenever we click on an option, it's going to change the score to that index. But that's not really what we want because every time we go to a different question, it's going to reset the score to whatever we answered for that question. So does anyone know how we would accumulate all the scores and get the average each time we press an option? How would we do that? So again, what we want to do is that each time we answer a question, we want to go to the score, add the previous score, and find the average of all the scores for all the questions we've answered. So let's say for this question we answer 1, and the next question we answer 2 for the index. The average should be 1.5, and that should be our score at the end of the second question. Does anyone know how we would do that? Yeah, we could do that. What would the static variable be? What do you mean?
I meant like something every time.
Yeah, so we can use score as the static variable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we want to do that, we can just do this, right? So we have our score. We can have something inside the state called questions answered. So let's have questions answered equals 0. So that's going to be how many questions they've gone through up till this point. So then in our handle option press, we can get questions answered from the state. So we can do questions answered equals this dot state. And then the new score is going to be the old score. So we can get that score from state 2. So score and questions answered are the old scores from our previous state. And we're going to be updating the state based on those new values. So our score is going to be score plus index divided by questions answered plus 1. And let's put parentheses around that too. And let's also like put an alert here so we can see what that is. And we also have to update the questions answered every time. So let's do questions answered equals questions answered plus 1. All right. So let's save this and reload, and hopefully I don't look like an idiot. Okay, so let's click on pizza. That's going to be 1. And we see our score is currently 1 when we click on it. And then we click on Asian, and that's index 2. So our score should be 1.5, and it is. So does that make sense how this works? Okay. All right. So let's just say at the end of like 3 questions, we just show a match. So let's do this. Inside our handle option press, we can just add in some space here, and we can do if questions answered equals 3. Also in JavaScript, you probably want to use 3 equals instead of 2, because if you use 2 equals, JavaScript tries to cast stuff as like strings and then checks equalities. So just use 3. So if questions answered equals 3, we're going to find a match for you. So let's make a variable up here below questions at the very top. And let's do const matches. And let's just have like an array of people. Let's have Zach and Scott. And let's also put Andy there. But Andy's not going to get any matches, so. Okay. So we got our matches here. And what we want to do is that each of these matches corresponds with some index. So this is 0, this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 2. So let's say your score was 0, your match is going to be Zach. If your score was 2, it's going to be Andy. If it was 1, it's going to be Scott. So your match is going to be whichever number you're closest to. So the way we do that is how would we do this? This is just a simple programming problem. It has nothing to do with React. Anyone have any ideas? So we have our current score, and we just want to get the string of whoever we're closest to. How would we do that? Round up?
Get the score and just like round to like number.
Yeah, sure. So we can do alert, and we can go into matches, and that's an array. So the index we're gonna have to go to is like math dot. Do they have round? Okay, they do. We can do math dot round, and then since this is the new score, right? So when we don't want to copy and paste this, so just make a new variable called const new score equals this stuff inside the set state. And let's just do new score. And then math.round new score. So let's save and refresh. Enter your name. And then let's just pick potatoes for all three. It should be Zach after this one. Okay, it took one extra click, so something's wrong. Oh, that's because, does anyone know why it took 4 presses instead of 3? Because what I was hoping was that after you answer 3 questions, it shows your match. But if we refresh here, we see it takes 1, 2, 3, 4. Why does it take 4?
Also because the last question's answered isn't updated after you answer the question.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. So like when we change the state here, this question answered on line 44 is from the previous state. So it's not from the updated state we just did. So just make a new variable here again called const new questions answered. And let's just do questions answered plus 1 here. And then we can replace that with new questions answered. And then replace the line 45 questions answered with that. Now if we refresh, it should take only 3 questions to get our match. So 1, 2, 3, Zach. How's Zach? Do you know what we're going to be doing tomorrow? Oh, oops. Okay. Now if we do, if we do pizza, it should be Scott. 1, 2, 3. It's Scott. And let's just do like a combination of different ones. Let's do potatoes, pizza, and Asian. It's still Scott. It's always Scott. And then let's do like bananas. It's gonna be Andy. No, it's not. It's gonna be undefined. Because yeah. Because it doesn't round down to the nearest index we have. So that's gonna be like 1, 2, 3. That's gonna be index 5, but we don't have a match for 5. So if we really wanted to make this better, we could just do, if the average is like more than that, we can just match with the highest index or something. So I had a lot more planned for this app, but I want to see how you guys can extend it. So for example, let's see if I can, I hate this. Okay, come on. I'm just gonna, what am I gonna do? Can you do, where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I see. Yeah, but I want to see all the apps that are open. Okay, let me just.
Can we try hitting that twice?
Okay.
That might work.
Oh wait, I'm kind of retarded. Let me go back. Projects. It should be. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of stupid. So, let's do when you enter your name and your name is Andy. And you just enter it, and then you get this message. So I want you guys to make it so that if your name is Andy, it shows an alert that says, "Shouldn't you be on Tinder?" All right, so do that. Let's go. Oh no.
Oh, you're in.
Yeah, this happened just recently.
Oh, it's fun. He's a good teacher though. I kind of wish I had a good teacher. I just had college. I'm just like, hey, just don't do anything.
You're not supposed to record.
You're posting a recording, right? So
Huh?
Yeah, it's still recording right now.
Yeah.
Do you have the other, like, she's merged or what?
Yeah, so shapes are good. Do you toggle on the second from the bottom?
So my thing won't show the question.
First question.
No, like in, what you call it, is it under?
Wait, well, oh yeah, type his name in.
I
That's
see.
it. I need not need the
That's
name.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're trapped in here now. On my face.
Oh, you're so big.
I just want you to say I gotta get that.
You got it to work, you work.
This is your channel. Huh?
Something like that.
Not only
You also have
No,
jobs.
yeah, I'm just trying to,
I
am
think
probably
there's
like- yeah, I probably.
Wait, your syntax highlighting is messed up.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
go
it's
with
right.
$1 billion. But like that, click,
No, not.
click there, and that, go right there. Then, what's up?
My, okay, my alert went off when I clicked 3 times. Like the third or seventh time.
So question.
Oh. Let me see, wait, where do you have it? Like, where's the alert right now?
So you did math.ran, but you didn't put anything in.
Alert?
I think that's the problem, though. That should be totally.
But, like, are you just like, yeah, you did.
So,
It's a, it really just requires, it's not like we can.
Oh, I see, it's the password.
I like start typing stuff and then
oh, what's that? Oh, what?
Oh, no, just like when I
Yeah,
start
on that third
typing stuff, I get stuff. But when I touch it, it works. I
Oh.
mean, when I touch it.
I think that's because you have a key. So go inside your touchable opacity before style. No, one. And just put key equals.
Why you not leaving?
So brackets, curly braces,
He's looking laptop.
and then oh no, just curly braces. This one, let's try it. You have to.
Oh, there was.
It's not too late. You can change.
Oh, also it's pulling up before my name.
Jesus.
That was the autofill.
Okay, never mind. Does that happen to you when you type in a name?
Well, my like questions coming up before.
Oh, there's another problem there. Try to remove the key in the text.
That's in a different function. So.
That's why you need something in math.
Index is a variable taken from the option.
So that's what yeah.
You have index.
Yeah, the new score. Or the new score.
Oh, okay, so.
Just figure this for you.
Yeah, you don't need to update it, yeah, just the name.
You should just.
There you go, there shouldn't be an index, like when you change the name like that. It's,
Zach, you had a match.
nice.
Nice. Okay. So try to do the
Sometimes they respond to. Okay. This is what we do for the next go open.
I'm just ready to try like you can close and reopen it too.
I'm really confused. I have no idea why.
Open your project and then it takes too long. And then it says,
Yeah.
People want to see this though.
They want to see this?
They want to hear my.
I want to see the screen.
I don't want to.
Well, they can want to hear his thought.
I don't want to like edit the video though. That's a lot of work.
oh yeah, it does the same thing for me. It's all.
How do you open the software keyboard?
When does that happen? When you
So-
start typing?
Oh,
Like more than like
oh, that's not the right app.
That's weird how it like is.
oh, and then it doubles it.
How much was this? It's, I think. Oh, yeah, do you just say?
Yeah.
This would be
Oh,
good.
Zach, I also have your Soylent.
Like, I'm saying the
Oh, I forgot you were going to do that.
Yes. Can you catch this?
It's-
I can't throw it, so.
Wait, that's.
Maybe we should.
Like you're giving me an entire bag?
Yeah.
What the heck?
You're-
Isn't this expensive?
I mean, it's like $8. It's not that
Are
bad.
you? Is that your new diet? Just soy it.
No, this is my.
It's gonna be my new diet.
I'm gonna do this on top of eating.
Need nutrients, man. Come on.
No,
Wait, when you
no,
do
you
eat
don't.
stuff straight out of the bag?
No, it's powder you mix it in with like
It's
water.
like,
It's
it's
like, you know, it's like drugs. You just go for it.
You just snort it. And then
Because I'm planning on doing only Soylent for my diet.
Why are you trying to diet? Like,
Wait.
No, I'm not dieting.
You're
I'm
only gonna be eating that powder?
drinking it.
Drink it.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, I've done that already for like 2 months. I've done only Soylent for 2 months.
Why?
It's not expensive.
If it's the only food.
No,
you
yeah, that's one day, but it's $8.
Wait,
Like, how much do you spend each day on food? Really? I mean, do you?
Wait, how much does your food
Yeah, yeah.
cost
If you like
for that?
meal prep and stuff. But even if, I don't want to spend time making food every day. I hate making food. It takes too much time.
It's kind of like
You want
it's the
plain
perfect
soy.
compromise.
But like my thing is like you don't want to taste chicken.
Is that
Like, you
Plain
don't wanna-
tastes like
wait, so you really just like straight drink that all day?
Yeah.
But like why? What
because it saves a lot of time.
I mean, think about it. How much time do you spend eating?
You don't have to go out and buy food. You don't have to prepare food. You don't have to clean the dishes. It's just a bottle of
That's like
hold
a
on,
miserable like
But you also
I don't care about the taste of food. It's
well, you
just
also
like
have to get a cup. You have to pour water in.
okay,
you have to
that
prepare
takes
it,
5
and
minutes.
then
That takes 5 minutes.
Like,
Yeah.
like I just get like I had like a pizza today. I just put it in the oven, push buttons, and then
Okay, where'd you get that pizza
how
from?
many like
Sam's Club. I
bags
bought
of-
it.
Yeah, you have to go to Sam's
I bought
Club and get
I
it.
have like 10 pizzas in my
Alright,
freezer
Do you
right
eat
now.
like a whole bag a day?
Yeah. So each bag is 2,000 calories.
That's not even enough.
Wait,
Yeah,
why?
so you can have 1.5 bags, Zach.
That gets into expensive territory.
How
Okay.
much is that bag of soy?
That's like I got it for like no, it's not 10. It's like $7.
You buy it like a big
Yeah,
Yeah.
You like buy 7 at a time.
You buy like a whole pallet.
Relatively speaking, I spend about
I buy-
$50 a week. $50 a week on groceries. 50 divided by 7, dude. I'm spending about the same.
Yeah,
amount.
but you still have to buy the groceries and prepare the food.
I agree.
But like, how like boring is
You're
it
also
to
not
eat
enjoying
that?
It's super boring.
You're not
I
enjoying
hate
your
it.
life.
I don't need that enjoyment
Like you
just
never
by
have
the
like
time.
a chocolate craving or something?
I have cravings. Like when I had Soylent, I had like a burger or something. I got such a massive headache. It was like so salty.
True.
So you like literally can't eat normal food anymore.
I mean-
You're
Is it
basically
what?
a robot now.
I think
Yeah, it's
it
vegan.
is.
So you technically vegan?
I was technically vegan.
Oh, so you don't do that.
No, I don't.
So it's like
Not
its main component
vegan,
soy then? Can I-
But he's starting it again, though, right? He's starting it again.
It does not taste good.
I've never had it.
But you're like not doing it all completely, though, right?
I mean, I'm gonna have Krishna sometimes.
Okay.
So that's
Oh, wait, yeah, if you ever get Krishna, let me know.
I've still
I have
never had
Krishna every day.
Oh,
That's my
I
plan
thought
for
that-
like eating.
The thing is, like, the lines are so long. I
Do you
don't
take
wanna
some
wait in
home?
line.
The line is only long on Friday.
Only on.
I went over there today. It seemed kind of long.
It is only like.
spaghetti.
I mean,
ridiculously long
it
on
takes
Friday.
like what 10 minutes for the line at most. It's not that long.
But like,
of time.
yeah, we got Soylent.
Okay.
We got Soylent. That would take you 5
Okay.
minutes. That's twice the time.
Yeah, I would
While
take.
he's waiting in line, he can shake the bottle.
I would take Soylent out with me like on campus, but it gets really bad if it's just in a bottle, and it's like hot outside, so it starts smelling bad.
Hot chocolate.
Like, even
Yeah, I
if
mean,
it's
if you
like
have it
an
every day
hour,
though,
it's
you get sick of it in like 2 days.
Okay, there's
Like,
5
It's very
Or
popular
something.
though in like
It's
computer
what?
science world though. So it's weird. Like so many people.
Yeah, like people in Silicon Valley, they do
love
time
Soylent.
to be efficient.
It's 400 calories. That's like.
But I mean, they're working 18-hour
in one
days.
serving.
Wait, and we have 1 serving. You only have 1 serving of this? Like,
No, I have the whole bag every day.
dang. I guess that's like 2,000. So.
Maybe plus like a little sandwich or something.
Yeah, you should have something other than just 2,000.
Why? I mean, yeah,
Your teeth
but
are gonna go.
no.
Your teeth are gonna go bad if you don't eat. Like if you don't use them.
Yeah,
that
your
is.
jaw actually
It's
does
about
like
Exactly.
get kind of
you
weak
chew.
because you just
Yes,
drink.
yes.
Yeah, that's
You're
what
like
that's what
180,
people
about
do.
2,000.
They chew gum when they have Soylent.
That's
Right, so he's probably about 1,800 calories.
That's like, does it mix well?
Yeah, it mixes well.
Does it
Mixes
really?
It's probably like chocolate milk, you know?
well.
Sure.
But like
tastes-
protein.
It tastes kind of corny, kind of like corn.
Really?
You go to parties, you like mix it with alcohol.
Oh yeah, he uses a mixer.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I've had a protein.
20 grams
powder.
of protein though. Ooh, you didn't tell me that.
No, that's
Like
per
200.
serving
So
too,
that's
right?
100 grams of protein in there?
I've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had protein.
Awesome.
major
That's
protein.
crazy.
Yeah, at least there's protein in like soy and stuff.
But the
400
thing
calories
is-
per bag. That's actually kind of dope.
No,
No,
per
2,000
serving.
calories.
That whole
2,000
bag is
per
2,000 calories.
So, I
That's
looked
like
up
your daily.
alternatives to
that's-
this.
that's
There's
daily
something called
intake.
Huel.
Yeah. I've not looked at any of those, but they're probably the same. It probably
Are
is.
there different flavors? You just drink chocolate.
They have different flavors.
They have an original flavor.
Is that
It tastes like corn. Um,
Supposedly the bottled ones taste like Cheerios.
yeah, so they have like pre-made like bottle ones, and they have better flavors. But to get the cheapest price, best value, you gotta get the powder.
Isn't the jar better?
The jar, the tub.
In jars.
Oh yeah, they do have Cheerios.
Yeah, I looked at that, but they seem more expensive. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's
Maybe
This is like the epitome of like college student.
You just gotta get on the ramen diet. That's the way to go.
no, but this has all the nutrients you need though.
So does
Ramen just has
Ramen
salt.
is
Yeah.
so
But ramen's so good.
Yeah.
And probably it's actually if you probably did the math, I bet ramen's way cheaper than
It's probably way cheaper. Yeah,
Probably also like
you can just do like rice.
No, you can
Yeah.
live on mac and cheese.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not a good life, but you can
What
live.
do you
I mean-
mean not a good life? It's
probably,
a
I
good
think I'd probably enjoy it more than soy.
Yeah, but you'd probably like die within a month or something.
That's, I'll take that.
So,
I
all right.
think actually eating a box of mac and cheese every day, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because it's $1 for a box of Kraft.
You probably
And
get
it's a
cheaper than
decent amount
that.
of calories.
You probably get cheaper if you like buy in bulk.
yeah, but it's like solely calories. Like
Well, I
you
mean,
like
How many
Yeah, but
calories?
like, what about like
It's
flavor?
got all the
It's
nutrition
on
you
top
need.
of
Right,
It's
no one
got
cares
bread
about
and
flavor
cheese.
here.
Why? Why does no one care about flavor?
Only Andy does.
Like flavor's important. I feel like you know.
there's some hot sauce in your soul.
I've tried
Sriracha.
making it taste better, like putting cinnamon in it and like vanilla, but
Oh, that was
it's just too strong. Soylent's too strong. You can't change it. Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
funny. That's funny.
It feels like sand.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And I also had another Soylent bag for someone
It's
who like
for auction.
someone who
Starting
made the
going
app
up.
better. So like if one of you wants,
That's our
if-
prize.
yeah, that's your, it's a meal.
Our app was like pretty
That's
cool.
3 meals.
We did something that you couldn't do, you know, with the whole like.
And we
You know
both did
what?
it.
Wait, what did
It
you
was
do?
glitching, like, I think like the render's not like.
That's a feature.
Wait, what'd you
I think the
do?
render's
That
kind of
thing.
messed
Oh,
up.
that thing, yeah. Yeah, that doesn't count.
Pretty good.
No. Do like, let's see, if you guys really want the Soylent, I don't think you do, but
I got a no camel project.
let's do if you do Soylent, okay.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Wait, what if you do the other one?
If you do like on the second question, you press. Oh fuck.
That's it.
So this is PG. Come
All right. So if you do Asian and on the second question you do Soylent, it should say yeah because
Okay.
look at the question. Did you see the question? The question is pick a flower. If you pick Soylent, you're a bot.
Genius.
on. Figuratively speaking, Soylent is the flower of the
But then it like
field.
usually gets fixed in like one like
No.
unsung.
Keep going.
So
Sorry.
instead of getting like a girlfriend instead of flowers, you give them soil.
Yes. Yes.
I was just.
And why do you think I asked for that?
Oh, yeah.
I honest to God never.
Ah, see,
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, I also like
Weird.
bombed.
And girl.
No, that's a lie. Bombed for tests. Every single time.
All right. So we have Soylent and we have half-eaten Chipotle. So you can pick from one of those.
I'm triggered. I have like I had my Chipotle leftovers yesterday and I brought them down the staircase and they just like exploded everywhere.
Rip.
I
I
really
rolled my
exploded.
Chipotle bowl on the fridge one day and it fell on the ground, like somehow flipped over so that like all the food was on the ground and the bowl was on top of it. And it was just so depressing to have to like lift up the bowl and like all the food was just on the ground.
Were you just walking with it and eating, or what?
I was walking down the staircase and I like tripped slightly.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
fall down the staircase, but my
Okay.
Chipotle did.
No, that's even worse.
Yeah.
We have to throw the error,
Ooh.
because it was get rid of all of this and just use
That's even worse. You fall.
I had asked Ray